Hello, this is Arun Srinivasa. I am here to help you learn engineering mechanics and its use in structural design. Today we are going to discuss stepped shafts. Prerequisites for this, you must be familiar with singularity functions and differential equations for beams in order to appreciate and follow this one and the subsequent video. If you are unfamiliar, just go back and review the previous videos on beams in my playlist, Design of Machine Elements. Shafts that connect power transmission systems have to be custom built. A power transmission system is a set of connected components that are configured to transmit motion, usually rotation, and load, usually torque, from one location to the other. The mechanical power flows from the drive, electric motor, IC engine, etc., through the transmission to the load. Many of the components in the drive system are bought off the shelf: bearings, pulleys, gears, chains, etc. There are a few components that need to be custom built. Two custom built components are the shaft in which gears are mounted. You can see how that works here. You can see that depending upon which gears are locked, the torque flows from the input through this shaft to the output. And then frames. So I'm showing you a bicycle frame here, and you can see how the frame connects up all the parts and keeps them mounted. Look at how simple this frame is, but that is the basic idea for a bicycle frame. Okay, a typical shaft setup looks like this. You have a central shaft, bearings on both sides, and remember bearings are supposed to be pin joints, which is rotating, and then there is a shaft in which there are two lateral axes. This is the axial and these are the two lateral directions. Okay, and the shaft is usually modeled like a disc. So this is a typical arrangement. What matters is that at the bearings, slight misalignments at the bearings will cause huge problems. Okay, and you can see at this stage, because of the misalignment, one part of the bearing will get worn out. One part of the bearing gets worn out compared to the other. There you go. So this slight misalignment is enough to create problems. So shafts and frames have to be very stiff. Since the shafts and frames have to house precision parts, gears, bearings, etc., they have to be very rigid. Otherwise, any slight misalignment will cause damage, wear, or failure. For example, for typical bearings and gears, the following table shows the allowed values. So you can see that different kinds of bearings are listed here: tapered roller, cylindrical roller, deep groove ball, spherical ball, self-aligned ball, uncrowned spur gear, all of these things. It tells you what are the slopes of the shaft that are allowed. You can see that all these slopes are in radians, and you can see that things are gradually better. But if it's uncrowned spur gear, any kind of slight misalignment of the angles are a problem. Also, deflections are a problem. So two geometrical features, angles and deflections. So remember that those two things have to be within critical elements. First thing I want you to notice is how small these values are. So that tells you that even slight deflections and slight angular misalignments are a huge problem. And also, if you put roller bearings, what are called cylindrical bearings, they are very, very unforgiving. We have to design the shaft so that the deflections Uy and slopes theta z are less than these values at the point of connection of these parts. Okay, so this table is very important. We will come back to it to check periodically, and we will have to use this table to design things. Okay, and by the way, this table is from Shigley. Okay, so stepped shafts are needed to locate the bearings and other parts also. Consider this assembly. So there's a gear and two bearings. I mean, this is a very simple assembly just to get you going. To get to this configuration, we have to start with the parts. So here are the parts. One part, a gear, the bearing is mounted onto the housing. The other part, the other bearing is probably also mounted onto the housing, and then you have this gear. And these three things have to be connected together. Okay, so we need to ensure that the parts have two constraints. They have to be in the right positions along the shaft. Can you see along this shaft, they have to be in the right place so that they all mesh together along this shaft. And they have to be also, they should not allow relative rotation. Of course, with bearings, the balls allow relative rotation, but the inner housing has to sit on the shaft and not slip. Same thing with the gears. It should not allow relative rotation. So the first part, that is location along the shaft, requires shoulders. And the second part, rotate with the shaft, requires some way to lock the shaft and the part together. So those two things are needed. So typically speaking, what will happen is that you will start with the configuration that you need, and then you will design a shaft which has the right kind of steps. Can you see how we have designed the steps? And there are various ways to do it, and that itself is an art. So in this particular case, can you see can you see this fan belt and this pulley? Typically, if you want to do one of those things, you have to put them outside so that you can mount the belts and all that. So what it is that you'll have to have the belt mounted on outside, and you can see that there is a way to do that. There's some kind of screw here. We'll talk about that in a second. And then there's a fan and all that. So you have to actually do these steps. Okay, so that's why we need stepped shafts. So there is a fundamental way to prevent relative rotation. Either you use a key or you use some kind of friction. I will show you how the key system works. So what it is that you have to have two broad tactics. One is to create non-circular cross sections by adding keys is one way. Nowadays, you can even get shafts which are non-circular, but they are expensive. So the advantage with key type of thing, so this small object that is going into this shaft, so that you can see the shaft has a groove and there's a small object that goes in that will lock the outer and the inner. So the pro is that it can take very high torque. The problem with that is that the shaft needs to be specially made with grooves so that things can go, and then there are stress concentration at the grooves. So that's the problem. The other way is to use friction to hold by using a sleeve or collar which is tightened. So you can see that how this sleeve, you can see that I'm tightening a screw which grips the shaft. So that's how I do that. Okay, so that's the other way. You can see that the shaft grip is happening. So that's another way to do it. The problem is that you have to periodically check it because it may slip. And the second thing is that if the torque is very high, friction may not be sufficient and it may slip. So these are the two common things. Usually the second one is used for most low torque situations, and the first one is used for mostly high torque situations. So just to get you an idea. So what happens is that all the shafts will be designed with multiple steps and grooves and other features to allow for positioning and locking of other components on them. So this particular example shows you how many steps there are in this particular shaft. Okay, this is quite common. So test your understanding, quiz time. What are the two most common elements that need to be custom designed? Why do shafts and frames need to be very stiff? Which two geometrical quantities need to be within specifications to prevent wear in precision parts? What are the two kinds of relative motions that have to be prevented in shaft mounted components? What is the purpose of steps in shafts? Can you think of two reasons why shaft dia increase towards the center? How are shafts locked against relative rotation? If you're ready, we're done. Thank you very much.